Hey guys, today we are talking about the Sigma 16mm f1.4 DCDN, a lens with the potential to be one of the best quality and best value options for wide-angle cinematics and high-caliber vlogs. But will the Sigma fulfill this potential and match expectations like a climactic Marvel movie, or will it leave us with crushing disappointment like a final Game of Thrones season? Let's find out. Everything we will cover is listed here along with product links and timestamps in the description, and be sure to stick around until the end for conclusions and recommendations. And if you enjoy this video, then like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. But unlike that one ultra-political friend on social media, before we get to opinions, let's think about the facts. Key facts about this lens. The Sigma sells for around £360 in the UK. You can sometimes find cheaper deals than that, but I'll tell you right now, it's good value if your use case matches this lens's capabilities. You get an aperture range from a super wide f1.4 through to f16, a 67mm filter thread, built-in autofocus but no built-in stabilization, and a single gigantic focus ring. The lens is designed for crop body cameras but compatible with full frame bodies that support a crop mode, so the 16mm wide-angle design gives you a 24mm full frame equivalent field of view. But how does that look? Pretty great for landscapes and wide establishing shots is the answer. The 24mm view works nicely for showing a wide, expansive perspective without seeming too unnatural or odd-looking. We don't get a sense of the lens pushing things further apart quite so much as we did with the 20mm Sony f1.8 I reviewed a few weeks back. Instead, like a morbidly obese unicyclist, things are wide but well balanced. For vlogging, this view is more good than it is great. When handheld, the view is fine, though you might like to use a grip extension to get a wider angle and more background. However, the lack of in-lens stabilization means you need some kind of solution for vlogging or even handheld shots if you want to avoid shaky footage that induces more nausea than a saunter through your local sewage center. You could use in-body stabilization if your camera has it, but even then, if you're shooting with Sony's in-body steady shot like I am, I'd recommend that about as much as a hot sauce enema. Spicy. A gimbal is a better solution, but the weight of the lens means you'll need a mid-range rather than entry-level option, typically adding both weight and cost to your overall setup. My Moser Aircross 2 does a nice job with this lens on either my A7C or A6400, but compared to the Samyang 24mm and Zhiyun Crane M2 setup we tested a few weeks ago, this is definitely more weighty. If you have a Sony body released after 2020, like my A7C, then you can use Catalyst Browse gyroscopic stabilization, which works great but requires you to crop into the image. If you do use that option, then I definitely recommend using a grip extension to give yourself more room for that cropping. The lens, grip extension, and Catalyst combo is a win if you don't mind the extra render time that Catalyst stabilization requires. But does all that extra effort actually give you a vlog image which is worth it? Absolutely. That's thanks to the gorgeous bokeh this lens can produce at that super wide maximum aperture of f1.4. For vlogging, the super smooth transition between in and out of focus areas gives your subject and background better separation than a childless amicable divorce. And that background blur is more smooth and dreamy than an LSD trip at an ice rink. The bokeh gets even better when using the excellent close focus of this lens, which achieved an impressive 6.8 centimeters minimum focus distance in my testing. At f1.4, the focus plane is razor thin up close, and the greater emphasis on background blur driven by the 9-bladed rounded aperture design is just stunning. Bokeh balls are similarly attractive and well rendered, though if you really are a detail-focused pedant, you may notice that some aren't perfectly round and they can have tiny bits of onion ring-like artifacting inside each orb. Be sure to put that in your pedant file. No, wait. Maybe don't. That sounds like a typo waiting to happen. I think for the price it is hard to be unhappy with the quality of the bokeh, but what about the quality of the build? Again, it's a positive picture here. At 9.2 centimeters long and 405 grams in weight, this isn't the slimmest or lightest lens, but it remains fairly compact and definitely easy to handle. You also benefit from dust and moisture-proof sealing. The lens feels really robust with a solid metal body and nicely tactile, rubbery plastic focus ring. But how does that focus ring work in practice. Reasonably well, but not perfect. That was my manual focus experience in a nutshell. The large ring and ribbed texture may sound like an adult toy description, but it also makes for an easy to reach and grippy focus ring. The problem is some less than ideal stiffness and some inconsistent performance. Thank God nothing in that second part sounded suggestive. So the lens is very capable of smooth and great looking focus pulls, but my experience was often impeded by friction getting in the way of bigger focus moves and very occasionally jumpy moves of the focus ring. The change in focus plane as you adjust the focus ring isn't perfectly linear, but is fairly consistent, so repeatable focus pulls are manageable, but require a bit more practice and attention. How about autofocus? Well, the experience here was impressive AF, and yes, that pun was intended. The Sigma focuses quickly and accurately on people, manages well with obscured faces, and keeps up with rapid or erratic movements. That was erratic. None of those movements were erotic, trust me. Rack focus using touch tracking is marginally less impressive, still working well, but only about 80 to 90% of the time. Very good, but not the best out of the lenses that I've tested. For vlogging, the lens does a great job dealing with dramatic lighting changes or changes in camera to subject distance. It even does a pretty good job where most lenses start to struggle, in low light. Here, that f1.4 max aperture is critical and helps the Sigma to perform well even at comparatively low ISO levels and shutter 1/50. Autofocus did lose me a few times with ISO set to auto and capped at 6400, but for much of my testing, the autofocus worked perfectly, even as low as 1000 ISO, which is what you can see here. This is easily in the top tier of low light lenses I've tested. Top tier low light lenses. Leave a like if you love a little attempted aimless alliteration, alright? Landscapes look great at night, and that ability to keep ISO a bit lower helps to avoid noise and softness in the image, so our results have a little bit more detail to complement the moody lighting and colors. Speaking of lights, the already epic bokeh is insane in the dark and makes things like focus pulls and close-ups look even more dramatic. So, what's our verdict here? A strong recommendation with a couple of minor caveats. The Sigma provides awesome bokeh, strong low light performance and high caliber build quality, coupled with a focal length which is well suited to vlogs, landscapes or various types of cinematic shot. Plus, excellent close focus that gives you great macro and detail shot potential. For the price, I think the lens represents great value for the crop bodies it's designed for, and if you have a full frame camera with an APS-C crop mode, like my A7C, it looks even better value compared to the often more expensive alternatives. I'm going to compare this to my full frame wide angle lenses in the future, and I think the Sigma is going to do really well, so be sure to come back and check out that comparison. However, despite all those positives, there are some negatives. The lack of stabilisation and not so great manual focus experience are definite drawbacks. Both are reasonable to work around, but enough to be worth mentioning and to hold me back from calling it a perfect video lens for the price. But make no mistake, while it might not be perfect, the Sigma 16mm f1.4 is absolutely great and strongly recommended. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, especially making it all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, then like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts or questions down in the comments. But most importantly, until next time, take it easy. Oh yeah, necessary to live. That's how I like my beverages. Technically, the lens is moisture proof, so this is still relevant.